Hey everyone, Grayson the Bard here, and welcome back to another Monster Hunter Wilds beta video. Today is going to be a little bit different than my usual content. I am going to be dipping my toes into the analytical side of Monster Hunter today. Power clashes are a mechanic that will be introduced in Monster Hunter Wilds, where any of the 6 weapons capable of guarding can occasionally enter a clash with the target monster, temporarily locking them in place before dealing a large burst of damage, and while they're all unquestionably cool and incredibly satisfying to pull off, each one is a little bit different. Some of the power clashes deal a single burst of damage at the end of the clash, while others involve a few small attacks during the clash with a smaller but still substantial pop at the end. With the recently concluded public beta, we've gotten first-hand experience with all these moves in action, and that led me to seek out the answer to a very simple question. Which weapon's power clash is the most powerful? And in order to answer that question, yes, my friends,
I'm afraid we need to use math.
Now, a few things to note before we get to the math. 1. Since we were in a public beta, and the beta is always balanced differently than the actual game itself, the specific numbers we are going to be using are subject to change when the game releases. Capcom generally keeps the power levels about the same with the weapons, even if the specific damage numbers change, so I can imagine that a lot of what we're going to be talking about today will be relevant for the actual release of Wilds, but if not, I will do an update video and, make any adjustments as need be. 2. All weapons are tested using the same parameters. No armor, no food buffs, and no other attack increases outside of what the weapons naturally provide, and all against the same 2-star Chatacabra from the optional quests that you can get from Alma at the base camp. This is all done to ensure that the clashes are being tested fairly against each other, and I'm not giving any one of them an edge over the others. 3. All these clashes are powerful and versatile additions to a hunter's arsenal, and I am in no way insinuating that any of them are bad. Merely trying to find out which one can pull off the biggest numbers mathematically, and if I'm being honest, I have not done the analysis yet at time of recording this, hoping that it's either Lance or Gunlance. Get it? Got it? Good. Let's crunch some numbers. There are 6 weapons in the Monster Hunter Wilds beta capable of blocking, and therefore capable of initiating a power clash, those weapons being Greatsword, Sword and Shield, Lance, Heavy Bowgun, Gunlance, and Charge Blade. I'm going to tackle them in that order, starting with Greatsword. Greatsword's power clash is, like the weapon itself, straightforward and powerful. After a brief lock, the hunter bashes the monster back with a large pop of damage. I don't necessarily need to slow down the footage, but I'm going to do it for every other weapon, so I'm going to do it here too. Slowing it down, we can see that the monster only takes 1 hit of damage for a total of 56 flat damage. Next up, the Sword and Shield power clash features 4 stabs with the sword before sending the monster flying with a shield bash. Slowing things down, we can see that each stab of the sword deals 9 damage, with the shield bash dealing 29, for a combined total of 65 damage. Next up, personal bias, but the Lance has my favorite guard clash of all, with a massive shield bash and then a powerful thrust, with the shield bash doing 39 damage and the thrust doing 75 for a total of 114, our first one to hit the triple digits. The Heavy Bowgun power clash is weird. It fires off a full salvo of 6 shots, with 5 of them doing 12 damage, and the last one doing 18 for some reason, followed by another big pushback dealing 30. This was consistent in all of my testing, so it must be intended, I'm just not sure why. But that does leave us with a total of 108 damage for the Heavy Bowgun. Next up, we have the Gunlance, my second favorite of the power clashes, and the one that, if I'm being honest, I was expecting to be the most powerful. After the clash, the Gunlance will do its quick reload animation, and then do a full burst at the monster, dealing lots of little damage. As of right now, it's unclear if this move will be affected by shelling level increases, or anything that increases the number of shells you can load into your Gunlance, but for now, each explosion does 15 damage for a grand total of 90. And last but not least is the Charge Blade, which has a lot going on for the power clash. Animation-wise, it's very similar to the SNS and Heavy Bowgun, starting with 2 stabs during the clash itself before a final shield bash and stab combo attack. Each stab does 15 damage, with the shield bash dealing 25, for a combined total of 70 damage. But the fun does not stop there. What I just showed you is only the uncharged form of the weapon. However, with Charge Blade, you can charge both the shield and the sword to augment it and deal more damage. So I was curious to see if those augments would affect the Power Clash as well, and they do, kind of. The damage from the sword stab stays the same, but when the shield is charged, when you block the initial attack that triggers the power charge, as well as when you do the shield bash at the end, you get an additional pop of 5 damage per hit with the shield, putting the damage up to 80 with an additional 10 damage when the shield is charged. This also got me wondering if maybe ammo type affected the power clash for the heavy bowgun. Maybe if you used a elemental ammo against a monster that is weak to it, it would deal more damage during the power clash, so I checked it by making sure that I had thunder ammo selected when I initiated the clash, and the damage was exactly the same. It didn't do anything, so unfortunately, the heavy bowgun is not affected by ammo type. Not that it really needed the help anyway. If you have been following along at home, this will come as no surprise, but here is our final ranking of the power clashes in terms of mathematical raw damage that they can dish out, at least in the beta. First place is the Lance with 114 damage, in second place the Heavy Bowgun with 108, in third Gunlance with 90, in fourth Charge Blade with 70, 80 if you have a charged shield, fifth place Sword and Shield, and last but not least in sixth place is Greatsword with only 56 damage. I am genuinely surprised by these results. Like I said, I was expecting Gunlance to be the highest just because of the true explosive damage. And I was not expecting Heavy Bowgun to be sitting at second place as high as it is. I am, however, very happy to see Gunlance in the top 3. I like that all of the weapons that have shields and blocking baked into their combat mechanics are all represented in the top part of this graph. I am a little bit disappointed that Greatsword is as low as it is because I was really interested in trying out a very tank-focused build with it when Wilds dropped. And unfortunately, I don't have too much to say about Charge Blade and Sword and Shield because I really don't play those weapons that much. Like I said early in the video, I don't think that any of these numbers are bad, and all of the power clashes feel really satisfying to pull off and are an awesome addition to all of these weapons. So if you are disappointed in the numbers, I apologize, but bear in mind that even if you are not dishing out the most optimal damage, the power clashes still give your team, especially if playing multiplayer, a pretty nice opening to be able to attack both when you are locking the monster in place for a little bit, and after the pushback where it is kind of staggered and just kind of vibing for a sec. And also another reminder that these numbers are not final. This is a beta, this is a very early demo of Monster Hunter Wilds. We are going to see these numbers change in the final release. I am really hoping, personally, that Capcom does a beta feedback survey like they did with the open beta in Monster Hunter World when it came out. And if they do, and especially if you are nonplussed about the numbers on your main weapon's power clash, I strongly encourage you to fill out that survey and give Capcom feedback. Let them know what you want to see changed in as constructive and kind a way as you possibly can. Before I end today's video, I do want to leave you guys with a fun little interaction I noticed with the power clashes and the Dosha Guma armor. Power clashes are affected by anything that increases your attack, so the Hunting Horn's attack up song, any food buffs that increase your attack, and also the Dosha Guma armor set skill gives you an attack increase after a successful power clash. Now how that reads, it makes it sound like the effect will take place after the power clash animation is finished. However, what I noticed and found in testing is that the skill actually activates midway through that final animation for whatever the last attack of the power clash is. This means that any weapon with a power clash ending that does multiple hits is going to have the last hit or two augmented by the Dosha Guma attack increase from the successful power clash. So weapons like Lance and Gunlance will have their damage augmented even further. I am very excited to see how high we can get some of the numbers on these power clashes. I would love to do a very power clash focused build, if that is at all possible. And honestly, doing this testing really made me appreciate how neat this mechanic is, and I think it might be, of everything that got added in Wilds, this might be my favorite weapon mechanic right now. But I want to know what y'all think. Did these numbers surprise you? How do you guys like the new Power Clash mechanic? Do you enjoy it as much as I do and feel it is incredibly satisfying to pull off? Is there anything you'd like to see changed about it before the full release of the game? Feel free to let me know in the comments. I would love to hear what you have to say. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to. Don't if you don't. And until next time, I've been Grayson the Bard, and I'll see you next time.